no son Navidad, sino Lingangú. Lingangú, ligu, ligu, liwacha, Lingangú, 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 ligu, ligu, liwacha, Lingangú, Lingangú. Vamos todos. Lingangú, ligu, ligu, liwacha, Lingangú, Lingangú. video más, mi gente, para informarles que ya las navidades no son Navidad, sino Lingangú.
Chicken jockey, 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 chicken jockey.
Un video más, mi gente, para informarles que ya las navidades no son.
Chicken jockey, chicken jockey, chicken jockey, chicken jockey, chicken jockey, chicken jockey,
Aye.
Hace de kontol sama lu semua nyentot.
The sky is crying out loud. The sky is crying out loud. Puddles forming on the ground. Every drop a crashing sound. But I'm dancing all around.
Umbrellas pop open wide and just
It's me, Super Mario on the PS4.
feeling so alive.
It's me, Super Mario on the PS4.
The rhythm never stops. Let's dance until we
Super
try.
Mario on the PS4. Hello, it's me. Hello, it's me, Super Mario on the PS4.
En el asiento de atrás la aventura.
Another day, another sleigh. Period.
Jackpot.
Sleigh! Another day, another sleigh. Period. Another day, another sleigh. Period. Another day, another sleigh!
Fashion yes, fashion no, fashion hot, fashion cold, fashion bland, fashion bold, fashion make, fashion break, fashion real, fashion fake, fashion left, fashion right, fashion leak you out of sight, fashion dick, fashion din, fashion clothes, fashion skin, fashion hiss, fashion fashion fierce, fashion girl.
Sea, on this endless ocean, without food and fresh water, only death awaited him. The hungry tiger showed its fierce expression again. Suddenly, a flying fish knocked him to the ground. David had no time to think. He quickly threw the fish to the tiger. But the next second, schools of flying fish came straight at them. This unexpected fortune, man and tiger both hurried to collect food. Just then the tiger caught a big fish. David knew this was a good chance to establish dominance, so he picked up a wooden stick and confronted the tiger. Under David's intimidation, the tiger backed down for the first time. But watching David take away the big fish, it still felt unwilling. However, upon seeing David's fierce gaze, it finally submitted and ate the flying fish beside it. At night, after preparing the big fish, David began eating heartily. This was the vegetarian's first time eating meat in 20 years, but he also realized an issue, that to survive in the ocean, he must completely tame this tiger. So he approached the lifeboat with sharpened sticks. Seeing David getting closer, the tiger trembled in fear, growling softly. But unexpectedly, David offered it a piece of fish. He was trying to show the tiger his goodwill. Then David threw another piece of fish meat, gradually guiding the tiger onto the canvas. Finally, under persuasion and pressure, the tiger was successfully tamed by David. The hungry tiger jumped into the sea hoping to hunt.
到医院要保持小声哦。
He never watches TV, yet he dismantles a brand new TV every day, then throws it down from the 35th floor, because he accidentally got trapped in this abandoned building. He does this just to get the attention of the security guard downstairs, but the security guard is listening to the radio and doesn't notice at all. Seeing that throwing TVs is useless, he starts shouting desperately, but his voice at such height seems so feeble. But the man doesn't plan to give up. He brings an iron basin, shouting while banging on the glass, hoping the sound would travel down along the walls. But until night his voice becomes hoarse. Still no rescue from the security guard. The man falls into despair. But the next day he comes to the main door again, trying to open it, but the key breaks off. The outside lock remains unmoved. So he runs to the kitchen to get a pair of pliers, wanting to pry open the door handle, but it's useless even with all his strength. The man simply starts hitting it with the pliers. But after 2 hours, he only leaves some scratches on the door, and accidentally hurts his finger. The man becomes furious, kicks the door hard. He believes his World Cup playing feet can surely break down the door, but he doesn't know. Half of this building's budget was spent on building the door. As a result, his leg is almost injured, and only leaves several size 42. This husky is not thirsty at all, but it's monopolizing the only water source. Whenever any dog dares to come close, it fiercely drives them away. Other dogs are angry. This beggar walked into a Swiss bank. He demanded to withdraw 40 million right away. Security immediately stopped him, telling him to stop making trouble and get out. But the beggar refused to leave. At this moment, the manager came over. He took out his computer, hoping to make the beggar give up. But the beggar successfully entered the account number and password. Then everyone was stunned. 40 million was just a small portion of the beggar's account. His account had exactly 45 billion. But such enormous wealth couldn't bring Henry any happiness. At this moment, his heart was filled with endless hatred. 15 years ago, he was just an ordinary fisherman, living a simple and pure life. He had a girlfriend whom he loved dearly, but on their wedding day, several police officers suddenly appeared and arrested him. The reason was that he had provided funds for criminals. This was clearly a fabrication, but Henry had no chance to defend himself. He could only watch helplessly as he was separated from his fiancée. Little did he know, this was all orchestrated by 3 friends working with the police. Henry was thrown into prison, forced to admit his crimes every day. He soon lost his will to live. But just then, the appearance of an old man gave him hope. He not only helped Henry escape prison, but also taught Henry various knowledge. In the end, the old man even left his huge inheritance to Henry. After successfully escaping, Henry used the account number provided by the old man, successfully withdrew 45 billion from the Swiss bank. This man picked up a dragon-headed cleaver, swiftly chopped at a Peppa Pig on the table. The knife circled around the pig's body, cleanly slicing from the pig's mouth. Peppa's flesh and bones were completely separated, yet not a drop of blood stained the blade. This man's name was David. He was a top-tier chef. He scooped up a fish from the water. His knife strokes were quick, precise, and ruthless. The sashimi was served, while the fish skeleton was still swimming happily in the water. The aroma of David's cooking spread for miles. Villagers from far and wide came to taste his food. But something terrible happened that day. After all the villagers ate David's food, they all got food poisoning. The villagers all pointed fingers at David. David knew he had been framed, but at this point he was powerless to explain. From then on, he lost his right to use the dragon-headed cleaver. All this was orchestrated by David's nephew. He always believed that David, for the sake of the dragon-headed cleaver, had caused his father to get injured and could never cook again. Thus David left his hometown behind. This was a Cantonese restaurant called Four Seas. David came to taste their food. The waiter introduced to David, "All dishes in our restaurant are signature dishes. You can order anything you like." But David ordered a simple boiled cabbage and clear soup. This was a Sichuan dish. The chef's assistant asked, "Why would someone order Sichuan cuisine at a Cantonese restaurant?" The chef understood this person wasn't ordinary. He was challenging the head chef's position. The boiled cabbage was served. After David carefully tasted it, he immediately asked for the bill. The manager asked if there was any problem with the dish. David said it wasn't authentic at all. The restaurant's head chef immediately stepped forward. Without much talk, the two chefs began their competition. If the head chef lost, he would leave Four Seas. If David lost, he would wash dishes at Four Seas for a year. Both chefs had their own strengths. David found an assistant named Jack, and made one of the restaurant's signature dishes his own way. A man's eyes were injured by jade fragments. Surprisingly, his nearsightedness turned into X-ray vision. His eyes were covered with gauze, yet he could see the nurse next door wasn't wearing underwear. He could even clearly see the hemorrhoids on the doctor's face. He quickly asked the doctor to remove his mask to verify. Sure enough, it matched exactly what he saw. The man thought he was hallucinating. After returning home, his friend took out a century-old jade teapot planning to sell it. A golden light flashed in the man's eyes. He could see the manufacturing process of the teapot. The so-called family heirloom was just a counterfeit from a small workshop. His friend heard it was fake but didn't believe it. He took Henry to the antique market. The shop owner offered a ridiculous price of $5. Just as they were about to leave, Henry noticed something special about the gourd in the owner's hand. The golden light flashed in his eyes again. He discovered red color hidden beneath the black exterior. Obviously, it wasn't an ordinary gourd. Henry haggled with the clueless shop owner, finally secured it for $600. Unexpectedly, right after the deal, a woman suddenly claimed she wanted to buy the gourd. The owner told her it was already sold. A wealthy man nearby became dissatisfied, asked Henry to name his price. Henry wasn't sure how much to ask for, so he took them to an antique shop for appraisal. The wealthy man, trying to impress the short-haired girl, immediately offered $50,000. He also claimed the black gourd wasn't worth much. Henry said though it appears black on the surface, it's actually red inside. The wealthy man was stunned, wondering if there was something wrong with Henry's eyes. Just then, this man desperately smashes a coconut against the rock wall, because he's been stranded on a deserted island for days without food or water. But wild coconuts are extremely hard. He picks up a stone and pounds it again furiously. As a result, the stone breaks into several pieces, but one of the pieces becomes very sharp. It can be used as a knife. After great effort, he finally gets to drink the coconut water. But drinking water alone won't solve his problem. To fill his stomach, he decides to go fishing in the sea. But during the plane crash, he lost his shoes. Not only did he fail to catch any fish, his feet were also badly cut by the coral reefs. He had to cut his pants. To make a pair of simple cloth shoes, Then he walks up the mountain. After reaching the summit, he begins to look around, but there's nothing but vast ocean all around. Escaping from here seems impossible, but suddenly he spots something by the shore. It's a person. He rushes down hurriedly, but when he swims up close, he realizes it's his deceased colleague. Fighting back his grief, he drags his colleague onto the shore. Then he removes his colleague's shoes and compares them with his feet. Though they're a bit small, they can still be worn after some modifications. He also finds a flashlight on his colleague, which still works. Finally, he takes care of his colleague and carves a tombstone for him. At night, he can't sleep looking at his wife's photo. This might be the only hope keeping him alive now. Soon there are barely any coconuts left. He can only drink dew from the mountain. He collects the dew bit by bit. Another night comes. He's too hungry to sleep. Just as he reaches the shore, he suddenly notices a light in the distance. Looking carefully, it's a ship. He shouts desperately with excitement, but the ship is too far away. They don't notice him at all. After daybreak, he plans to paddle over with the life raft, but gets knocked to the seabed by a huge wave. The life raft is punctured, and his leg is injured by coral. Dragging his wounded body, he returns to the camp. The collected dew is all gone. At this point, he's completely out of resources. Looking at the delivery boxes before him, he can't hesitate anymore. He decides to open the packages, hoping to find something to eat. The first box contains some tapes. The second and third contain a volleyball and divorce papers. All useless things. Fortunately, the fourth one is a pair of roller skates. Looking at the sharp blades, he tries them on a coconut. It splits open easily. The fifth is a woman's long dress. This might be useful. Only one box remains. Just as he's about to open it, he sees the wing pattern on the box. He hesitates. Perhaps he thinks wings represent hope. Finally, he keeps this box aside. Then he uses the roller skates to cut open the clothes. He applied a simple bandage to the wound. He then turned the dress into a fishing net to catch fish in the sea, and used sharpened tree branches to catch crabs. But eating them raw was really hard to swallow. He realized he needed a fire source, so he began the most primitive way of making fire by friction. But he kept rubbing from day till night, until the next day his hands were worn out, without seeing even a tiny spark. This made David lose his temper. He grabbed the volleyball beside him and threw it away. But after he calmed down, he saw the handprint on the volleyball. Suddenly he had an idea. He actually drew a smiling face on the volleyball, and gave it a name, called Wilson. The lonely man finally had his first friend on the island. This man desperately smashes a coconut against the rock wall, because he's been stranded on a deserted island for days without food or water. But wild coconuts are extremely hard. He picks up a stone and pounds it again furiously.
Navigating new technology.
No matter what answers the girl writes on her test paper, the teacher always gives her a perfect score of 100. What's even more incredible is, everything she writes as answers comes true. For example, when asked who their prime minister is, she casually writes down her boyfriend's name. The next day, her boyfriend actually becomes the prime minister, and trends on social media. The next question asks who is the president of country A. The girl knows nothing about it, so she leaves it blank. Unexpectedly, the next day the president of country A disappears. After putting things together, the girl discovers her answers can actually change the world. Then she has an idea. She wants to change her and her family's situation through exams. The girl's father is a water purifier salesman, facing the risk of layoff due to poor market conditions, so she deliberately writes natural water instead of natural gas in the exam. This leads to insufficient drinking water supply. In order to get clean water, people rush to buy water purifiers. Orders surge as a result, solving her father's unemployment risk. Next, it's time to help her mother. Her mother has a new relationship. To save her parents' failing marriage, she writes her mother's lover's name as an astronaut's name on the test paper. The next day, that man flies to space as an astronaut. Her parents' relationship improves again. Finally, to help her brother who's depressed after failing his exams, the girl writes on her test paper. Her brother opens up to the family, but it backfires, triggering a fierce argument between father and son. During the argument, dad reveals he's on the layoff list again. Mom also has a new lover again. That's when the girl realizes, if people don't actively change themselves, no matter how hard she tries, everything will eventually return to square one. The ultimate prison break method often uses the simplest means. The man hides in the bathroom, shaves off his full beard, styles his hair with wet hands, takes out the guard uniform hidden in the toilet, quickly changes into the uniform disguising as a guard, then calmly walks out of the workshop. David encounters several guards on his way. Due to his strong psychological quality, David's behavior shows no abnormality. The passing guards have no suspicion. David quickly walks towards the main gate, takes out the prepared access card, swipes open the door. The guard outside stares at David, thinking he looks unfamiliar. This gives David a cold sweat. The guard doesn't question him seeing his access card. David successfully escapes. Later he buys a work uniform for $9.9 at a street stall, disguises himself as a designated driver. At this moment David sees a luxury car approaching. He immediately runs over, pretending to help the man park. The man gives David tips and car keys. David is not interested in the tips but the luxury car. He directly drives away with the luxury car. Shortly after, David sneaks into a bank disguised as a cleaner. When no one is around, he he takes out a wire from his pocket, quickly cuts through the delivery tube, then puts his pre-forged employment documents into the delivery tube, takes out a prepared box, walks into the bank elevator, quickly removes the cleaner's uniform, revealing the shirt and suit worn underneath. He calmly walks into the bank carrying the box, then finds the reception desk. David pretends it's his first day at work. The receptionist hasn't received any notice about new employees. David claims HR has prepared his employment documents. The receptionist is half believing, goes to check the delivery tube, indeed finds David's employment documents and work ID. The receptionist believes it's true. David pretends to chat with the receptionist, takes her work ID while she's distracted. Then David uses the receptionist's ID to swipe open the door, successfully infiltrates the bank's interior. He quickly arrives at the vault's password door, rapidly cracks the code and opens the vault door. Inside is filled with hundreds of millions in cash. David is secretly delighted. He hurriedly opens the empty box, continuously puts cash from the shelves into the box, stuffed in 5 million. Cannot fit anymore. He has to close the box, carries the box out of the vault. David leaves the bank with the money, swagger and all. The ultimate prison break method often uses the simplest means. The man hides in the bathroom, shaves off his full beard, styles his hair with wet hands, takes out the guard uniform. A man bought a bunch of pregnancy tests. When tested, surprisingly all showed 2 lines. Indeed, both men were pregnant, but that wasn't even the strangest part. More bizarrely, all 4 of them were pregnant, and how they got pregnant shocked the world. That day, they were hiking in the wilderness. Suddenly, a distant sight left them dumbfounded. They quickly covered their noses and mouths and went to investigate. Upon closer inspection, the entire hillside was covered with water buffaloes. But that wasn't the strange part. What was odd was that these buffaloes had incredibly neat wounds. Even more shocking, the wounds didn't have a single trace of blood. Lucy, who studied medicine, became deeply interested. She even went forward to touch one, just when she thought everything was fine. The buffalo's eyes suddenly blinked. In an instant, they scattered in terror, then turned and ran back to their campsite. After returning to camp, they immediately packed up to leave. But what they didn't know was, even stranger things happened after they left. Just as they drove down the mountain, the car mysteriously stalled. Henry tried but couldn't start it. The car showed no response at all. Just then, Anna suddenly heard a strange sound. Before anyone could react, a beam of white light suddenly shone into the car. Then, they saw something approaching. They frantically pressed buttons in the car in panic, but the car still showed no response. When Lucy turned around, she was completely shocked by what she saw. Then, they were all attacked by tentacles. But after a flash of white light, everything returned to normal. When they woke up, it seemed like nothing had happened. Even the car was working normally again. But then, Lucy noticed something wrong. Anna had disappeared. Before anyone could react, Anna suddenly appeared in front of them. Fortunately, David hit the brakes in time, avoiding hitting her. Henry quickly helped Anna into the car, but just as they were about to leave, Anna made another shocking discovery. Their positions had somehow switched. Henry was definitely driving before, but now it was David. They had no time to think about it, and immediately drove away from there. But after returning home, even stranger things happened. As soon as they got home, Lucy started vomiting violently. Anna had the same symptoms. They both quickly took pregnancy tests. The results showed they were both pregnant. At first, they thought it was because of Henry and David, but this theory was quickly disproven, because both men experienced the same symptoms. Lucy had a sudden idea, and asked the men to take pregnancy tests too. Sure enough, the tests showed they were pregnant. Both men were too shocked to believe it, so they rushed to the hospital immediately. However, this trip revealed a secret that shocked the world. This incredible secret completely defied common sense. A man bought a bunch of pregnancy tests. When tested,
who is thinking about you right now?
The man covered his entire body with white paint, then disguised himself as a statue and snuck into the exhibition hall. He planned to steal this super diamond worth billions, but the guards had already surrounded the diamond tightly. Yet the man remained completely calm. As he gently moved the remote control hidden in a book, a small black car slowly emerged from behind the pillar. Then the man turned on the camera on the small car. Under the man's control, the car began to slowly move along the black tiles. The guards couldn't spot the camouflaged car at all. Just as the car was moving smoothly, unexpectedly, a guard walked by. The man quickly stopped the car. Then, as the guard paused, he immediately drove the car between the guard's legs. The car made it to the display stand after this close call. Then the man pressed a button. The car surprisingly stood up, and climbed up the case using the grooves. Under the man's control, the car quickly reached the edge of the display. Then the man pressed another button. A meter-long mechanical arm extended from the car. The claw firmly grabbed the diamond. The man quickly placed a mini projector on the statue. The moment the mechanical arm took the diamond, an identical projection replaced the real diamond. While the real diamond was stored inside the small car, the man had successfully completed the theft. But as he tried to escape disguised as a janitor, The arriving police noticed something suspicious. They immediately shouted for him to stop. Because the police had already cancelled all janitor shifts, the alert officers immediately raised their weapons. The man had no choice but to stop, but he was already standing on a manhole cover. The police demanded to see his ID. The man pretended to comply, but turned and pressed a button on his waist. Green liquid immediately flowed under his feet. When the police checked his ID, they realized he was the master thief they were after. Before they could react, the man vanished through the manhole. The next second, he shot out from another manhole outside. By the time the police realized what happened, the man had disappeared into traffic. But the man wasn't satisfied. He even boldly called the TV station to tell the police his next target, a 6,000-year-old ancient sword. The man covered his entire body with white paint, then a man disguises himself as a pilot, deliberately strikes up a conversation with a flight attendant, takes advantage to swipe the flight attendant's work ID, quickly swipes open the door, then quietly returns the work ID. David infiltrates the building, quickly changes into security guard uniform, pretends to be security personnel, uses forged documents to receive accomplices at the entrance. Security at the gate checks the documents, finds nothing suspicious, so opens the gate to let them through. David's accomplices successfully enter the airport. They sneak into the airport warehouse. Their target is $600 million in cash inside the safe. David and teammates drill holes in the safe, then put on high-tech glasses, insert a micro camera through the hole, check the internal structure of the safe. After locating the wires, carefully pull out the alarm system wires with a hook, cut the wires in red, blue, green order, then slowly turn the combination dial. Use a stethoscope to carefully listen to the gear movement. David and team successfully crack the code. Slowly open the safe. $600 million in cash appears before their eyes. Just press this button and you'll get $1 million. But someone in the world will randomly die. Would you press it? That night Lucy received a package. After opening it, inside was just an ordinary black wooden box. The couple thought it was a gift from a friend, and didn't pay much attention to it. Lucy was a middle school teacher. After class, the principal suddenly fired her, and Henry, who worked at the space agency, despite scoring high on every test, was denied transfer to become an astronaut. Both became unemployed at the same time, making their already struggling family situation even worse. While Lucy was troubled and worried, someone rang the doorbell. A man in a suit stood at the door. Although Lucy was surprised by the man's demeanor, she politely invited him in. But what the man said next filled her with both excitement and fear. It turned out the box she received had a magical function. Pressing the red button would bring her $1 million. But as a price, someone in the world would randomly die. It could be someone you know, or a stranger somewhere in the world. The couple had 24 hours to consider. When time's up, the man would come to take back the button. That night Lucy told her husband about the strange button. Her husband didn't believe it, and even suspected the man had ulterior motives, thinking it might be a scam. The husband opened the box to examine it, but found nothing inside. However, the appearance of the button had already disturbed Lucy's mind. If it were real, $1 million was no small amount. Lucy struggled with the decision over the button. She finally gave in to temptation and pressed it. Nothing seemed to happen on the surface, but at that very moment, the police received a report of a death. Soon after, the man indeed kept his promise, bringing $1 million to their door. But Henry felt guilty constantly, trying to return the money to the man. But the man told him, the deal cannot be undone. The man left without saying much more. Henry noted down the license plate number. After some investigation, what he found was shocking. It turned out the man was an astronaut, but after decades, his appearance hadn't changed at all. Most strange was a later accident. The man was struck by lightning, and died after failed attempts to save him at the hospital. He was sent to the morgue, but doctors outside suddenly heard him laughing inside. He had miraculously come back to life. The lightning was actually alien power. Their purpose was to give the man supernatural abilities, and send him to test human nature with these boxes. Humans would only pass the test by refusing to press the button. Just as Henry found clues in the library, he was quietly followed by 5 strangers. He looked everywhere for an exit, but found everyone in the library staring at him. Finally Henry was cornered in the reading room, and was asked by everyone to make a choice. 3 water gates appeared before him. 2 of them were doors of danger. Only one door would let him survive. He chose the second one, and was instantly sucked in by the water gate. Just press this button and you'll get $1 million. But someone in the world will randomly die. Would you press it? That night Lucy received a package. The woman pretends to ask the police officer for help, takes the chance to flip the officer's access card to her teammate. The teammate catches the card, quickly passes the card to Lucy. Lucy swipes the card and successfully enters the building. They need the manager's access card to reach the vault, so the teammate deliberately bumps into the manager, takes his card and quickly passes it to Lucy. Annie and Lucy swipe their cards simultaneously, take the company's internal elevator to the vault. Just as the manager is about to swipe his card, if the theft is discovered, the plan will be exposed. The teammate quickly stops the manager, claims the manager stole something during the collision. Hearing about the manager stealing. People nearby gather around to watch. Actually, the teammate is deliberately stalling for time. He asks everyone to check their belongings. Many people find their phones missing. The manager can't explain himself clearly. People suggest calling the police. This is exactly what the teammate planned. By now Annie and Lucy have reached the vault. They use a decoder to crack the door password. The vault door slowly opens. Both quickly put on their equipment. Put on detection glasses. Discover laser beams covering the corridor. They carefully observe the laser layout. Calculate the best path through. Put on hats to prevent hair from touching the beams. They begin to move forward carefully to avoid the moving laser beams. Both navigate through the laser network, moving with agility and speed. It took them half an hour to get through. They swipe access cards simultaneously. Open the second door. The multi-million-dollar treasure is right before their eyes. Lucy immediately takes the treasure. David, disguised as a police officer, arrives at the scene. Demands to check their IDs. The cleaner tells David, someone put things in the cleaning bin. She knows nothing about it. While they're retrieving their belongings, Lucy and Annie slip out of the elevator. Meet their teammate with the treasure. At this moment, David deliberately stops them to check their IDs. As they take out their IDs, they secretly pass the manager's access card into David's hand. David, while returning their IDs, secretly slips the manager's access card into his pocket. The manager notices nothing unusual. They calmly leave with the valuable treasure. The woman pretends to ask the police officer for help, takes the chance to flip the officer's access card to her teammate. This boy had been dead for 12 years, yet he suddenly woke up on the school rooftop. He just felt like he'd been sleeping for a long time. Realizing class was about to start, he rushed back to the classroom, but didn't recognize anyone there. Maybe he went to the wrong class. Then the teacher walked in, and was shocked to see him wearing a school uniform from 12 years ago. Thinking he was playing a prank, she was about to call security. Seeing things weren't going well, the boy ran out of the school. Looking back, he saw the date showed 2017. Shouldn't it be 2005? How did he sleep for 12 years? What about his younger siblings? He sprinted home. When he opened the door, there wasn't the warm welcome he'd expected. Just empty tables and an unfamiliar environment. This left him very confused. This is the strangest village I've ever seen, because absolutely no red things are allowed here. Even if it's a newly bloomed red flower, it must be plucked immediately, and buried in the soil to be completely eliminated. Otherwise, it will attract that terrible monster. In this isolated village, there's a horrifying legend. It said that terrible monster—
No, Leonard.
The cleaning lady is stealing old banknotes from the bank. She pretends to wipe the cash truck first. Then while the supervisor isn't looking, she quickly hides in the camera's blind spot, and swiftly switches the padlock on the vehicle. Just as everything was going smoothly, she unexpectedly slips, immediately alerting the staff. Fortunately, it was just a false alarm. Then Emma quickly pushes her cleaning cart, and meets up with her cash-handling teammate Lucy, telling her the number of the vehicle with the switched lock. Lucy then pushes the tampered money box to the trash bin, perfectly blocking the security camera's view. Before the elevator arrives, Lucy pretends to dance while listening to music, deliberately distracting the security guards, then quickly opens the padlock, and pushes down the divider. She then throws bundles of cash into the trash bin. Just as things were going smoothly, the frequent movements caught security's attention. Fortunately, Lucy stopped her actions in time, managing to avoid suspicion. Soon Lucy arrives at the shredding area, immediately signals her teammate Annie. Once she shreds the bills, and switches back the original lock, their theft won't be discovered. So Annie immediately pretends to use the bathroom, waiting for her teammate to deliver the original lock. At this moment, Emma rushes over, and quickly throws the lock to Annie. Unexpectedly drops the fake lock's key into the drain. Now they're in trouble. What should they do? While they're racking their brains, Emma suddenly remembers Lucy has a spare key, immediately calls her to find a way to send it up. But due to the bank's strict security system, not only are movement areas and times restricted, even bathroom breaks are monitored in real time. Lucy can't reach the shredding area at all. With Annie about to shred those bills, if she can't open the fake lock, they can't switch back the original lock. Security will eventually discover this. Just then Lucy comes up with a brilliant idea, to hide the key inside chewing gum, just as she's about to send it up through the elevator. Unexpectedly, there are two bank employees inside. To avoid their suspicion, Lucy has to pretend to be very angry, then throws the gum into the elevator. After the elevator reaches the floor, Emma immediately rushes in to grab the gum. While the two employees are still confused, Emma excitedly breaks open the gum to retrieve the key, then quickly pushes her cleaning cart toward the shredding area. Meanwhile, on Annie's side, security finally notices something's wrong, immediately approaches to check her, just as the plan is about to be exposed. Thankfully Emma arrives in time, deliberately calls security to open the door, then throws the key to Annie. They finally manage to switch back the original lock, but it's not over yet. Emma needs to rush back to the elevator pretending to collect trash. Now she can collect the $200,000 Lucy left, but how to safely get the money out? Emma waits for afternoon tea break, immediately signals her teammates, then the three pretend to use the bathroom. They just need to hide all the bills in their clothes, to successfully avoid security checks. Just as everything was going smoothly, security unexpectedly notices something suspicious through the cameras, immediately rushes to the lobby to stop Emma. Oh no, have they been discovered? The cleaning lady is stealing old banknotes from the bank. Which pig won when two pigs fought? The man answered that the pig won. Everyone present was stunned. He was the first person in the world to answer correctly, and thus became the President of the United States. It turned out that years later, the average IQ of Americans dropped significantly, because smart people were too. A crack suddenly appeared in the dam. It might collapse in an hour. There are 2 million people in the town below. There's not enough time to evacuate. The high IQ team has no choice.